Gents, we're back. You ready to rock?
Ready to go.
I'm always ready to rock.
Here we go. Oh! Gets picked and inflictor.
Get an ambulance. Get an ambulance.
Boom. Right off his stomach.
Straight off his melon.
Oh, I can't believe you did that.
With a long-range shot, the arms up. It's a point.
It was one of the great days.
Hello, welcome to Freddy and the Eighth, looking at Magic Round. Great to have Freddy and Joey back. Boys, after some inappropriate comments last week, we've been banished to the Bat Cave. The producers of RBT have objected.
Who made the comment?
I saw it the other night. I was watching again.
We're here.
Yeah, I just love it when they pull someone over and they got their speed sunnies on and they got limited teeth. That's when I know it's going to get juicy. And then they go to an ad. It's really well done.
It is. You're the only family that sit down together and watch it with popcorn.
4-year-old kids. What do you reckon, Dad? Yeah.
He's gone.
He's gone. Yeah. Wait till they get the thing on his tongue.
Speaking of driving, we found an unlikely sporting hero for Andrew Johns, I'm told. Now, I don't know whether this guy's name is real. His name is Dick Trickle. He's a NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a bunger.
Can you believe that? That can't be happening.
While he's driving, or he's in the pit lane.
While he's driving.
So, what if there's some kind of crash and fuel starts to gush out?
What happens if there's some fuel? That's bizarre.
Wasn't Trickle in
Trickle.
Days of Thunder?
That's
Well,
extraordinary.
his first name's appropriate.
They get a couple of 100,000 to those. And they get a couple of 100,000s to those races. They just run around. They just drive around in a circle.
Mate, now I
love
could be
it.
wrong. The Indy 500, I reckon it's like over 200,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You're going to get real loose in the.
Wouldn't
RBT.
Yeah.
make Budweiser drunk.
Speaking of loose, Magic Round, boys. Fantastic event. And Suncorp Stadium, the perfect place for it. If you haven't been, mark it, and we said this a couple of weeks ago, mark it down on your rugby league bucket list. But it's great. The thing I like about it is you get all the fans in one area. And it's not a tribal environment, it's more of a celebration of the game.
Yeah, walking around town, everyone's got their jerseys on. I think it's a great trip away for people to get away, and they get in the restaurants and the pubs, cafes, and it's a really good feel up there. I haven't seen too much hostilities, although I'd get out of town during the night, go down the Gold Coast. Yeah, but sensational. And credit to the Super League in England. That's who started it. It started over in England. They went to Wembley, I think. Huge success. And then obviously the Rugby League's copied, and now everyone's. AFL.
I like how you see there's a game on and then you see the team who's playing next, like all the stars sitting in the tunnel just watching the game, and you'd never get to do that, ever.
And the old school jerseys.
Yeah.
See if your Crushers jerseys getting around, and there's always the old Adelaide Rams jumper that comes out of the closet.
Henny Penny, Newcastle Knights one.
All that sort of stuff.
Chicken salt.
Chicken salt, yeah.
Good
Extra chicken salt.
They started chicken salt, I think.
Did they?
I reckon.
No.
I reckon Henny Penny with that. Their chips were the best.
You just completely made that up.
I did not.
That Henny Penny created
They
chicken
used to put
salt.
chicken salt on their chips.
It's still got Henny Penny.
No, there's a couple still in town.
Is there?
Yeah, there's one right near me in Merriweather where I used to live. And my mate Hoyo, we used to call him Henny Penny because he'd have a quarter of chicken and chips nearly every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good for your blood pressure and cholesterol.
Yesterday's hero time. Now I don't know why we're going easier. We need to be going to 1 and 2 game players the way Andrew and Brad are going. However, I'm told that you might have a story or two about this play. Let's have a look. Who have we got this week?
Stuart Smith.
There's Richard Swain.
Benny Eichen. Berrigan.
Gordon. Oh!
An intercept.
Alan Craigie.
He took it on
Alan
the
Craigie.
line. The legs are getting weird.
You always say he's one of the most freakish natural talents you've ever played with.
Not one of the.
Yeah.
Could have been absolutely anything. But lost his way a little bit there, Owen. I think he'd be the first one to admit it. Great fella, Owen. He's doing a lot now. I think himself and Adam Muir are doing something with disadvantaged kids, or disadvantaged in, I don't know what it's called. Yeah, doing a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
And sat down with him a couple of years ago. He's really turned things around. Good fella, Owen. Very funny. Very funny.
Owen, we salute you. On the Newcastle theme, Andrew, Kalyn Ponga, a couple of games back, you were brutal in your assessment of Newcastle's effort against Parramatta. I think many people gave the Knights a great chance to win that, but the scoreline obviously was a blowout in the end. How's the club feeling about Kalyn's return, and I guess more specifically about where the team's at after that performance?
Well, I don't know. They've had a heap of time off with the bye. I think they've been given maybe the week off to go and freshen up. So I don't know.
Is that unusual after a heavy loss like that to have so much time off?
I think most clubs will put a thing at the start of the year and they'll go, righto, let's work to this, and they have work loadings and then they'll give them a week off. So
I'm guessing by your reaction that you don't think they should be having a week off.
Well, I'm not sure if anyone really needs a full week off. Yeah, maybe it's different. It's a lot more intense these days. They train more.
You're a coach. What would you be doing after that?
Well, hey, hang on. If you're a player and you got beat by 50,
no, I couldn't go away for a week.
Wouldn't go away.
I'd go mad.
You'd be into training on Monday morning, training on your own.
I can imagine having a week off during the year. That'd be.
So you'd like to see some players take a bit of personal ownership of that, and instead of going away,
of course,
work on what happened.
Of course.
On Kalyn, any thoughts there?
No.
It's a shame. What do you think about his return?
Well, they were terrible last week, so he was.
Well, he's lacking confidence, obviously, coming back from the head knocks, but shouldn't be playing 5'8". Should go straight back to fullback. And then Lockie Miller's been the Knights' best player.
You said he's played halves coming up through the system. Could he play in the halves? Andrew looks frustrated.
I don't know.
Brad.
What is answers a watermelon?
Answers a pineapple even.
How'd they get that saying?
I don't know, but I like it.
Gus just made it up one day, didn't he?
Did he?
He just makes
He's
things
good at
crap
making
up.
things up. I've got a couple of questions for you. Do you expect to be playing against David Fifita in Origin 1?
Well, I think so. I think Jeremiah Nanai, his form's been very good. So
I reckon that was the best game he's played in a couple of years on the weekend.
But I think consistently he's getting more involved. His defence is getting better. So I'd expect Nanai. Then that sort of Kaufusi's back.
Capewell.
Also, Kaufusi started the series and Nanai's coming off the bench. So I'm assuming that Kaufusi will go back into the team and then the next back row. But the other bloke from the Dolphins is going good.
Gilbert.
Lemuel.
No, he can't.
He can't play?
No, he's from New Zealand. I asked Billy that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right.
What do you think for Federer?
Tom Gilbert as well.
But Gilbert would be on the other side.
He's a middle forward. I couldn't imagine him playing on an edge in Origin. I don't know if he's dynamic enough. But he's the sort of player you play in the middle.
So Fifita off the bench, Andrew, in Origin, he's a handful. He's an imposing player. And do you expect Reece Walsh or Kalyn Ponga to be fullback?
Kalyn will be fullback.
Still 3 weeks away, I'd say Kalyn.
28 days, actually. How about that? Well, that's when you pick your team in 3 weeks.
Yeah, Pickett, the Monday just gone 3 weeks, so a bit over 2.5 weeks.
And we're all looking forward to it here at Nine's Wide World of Sports. Origin 1 from Adelaide. Bring it on.
Here we go again. What a moment in Origin history.
Yes, Origin time. Best time of year. Gus says you never pick your team until the medical. I'm going to try and lure him to get him talking about Origin this week.
Gus?
He just doesn't talk about it.
Do we have medicals like they used to?
A lot of the medicals are done through their clubs and then they come down. You'll pick the team and you get to pick a team and they'll come down and do a final medical with Nathan Gibbs as our doctor.
And how does the modern day medical vary from the old school medical? What would you used to do? They just used to grab your arms, you're sweet.
Well, it's funny, you know so much more about the players now than you used to. So in the old days, players would come down and if you had injuries, sometimes you wouldn't even tell you stuff because they'd modern player. So a lot of the time you'll sort of hide an injury, so the medicals are actually a lot more thorough in the old days. But now you know so much about the players. Like we have a physio who speaks to all the other physios, and you pretty much know exactly. And then also you talk about their training and what they need to do at training. So by the time you pick them and they come in, 90% of them you know what's happening.
Did Gibbsy get on a kangaroo tour injured? John Gibbs? Was it a knee injury?
It could have. All I know is that Wally got ruled out with
Yeah.
the broken arm. That's how I got to start.
Ruling the king out. That'd be a
I
big
imagine
call, eh?
that.
That was a big call.
I remember the scenes at the footy, the SFS of the king run up and down, had to hit the ground, and Nathan Gibbs and Bozo were there.
Do you have the broken arm? Come back
Yeah,
from the
had the
broken
broken
arm.
arm.
Yeah.
So you replaced the king?
I replaced the king.
Oh, how'd you feel?
Well,
Not like the king.
Well, I didn't. I wasn't thinking at the time. It was the night of the grand final, so I used to name the
Yes,
kangaroo,
of course.
the kangaroo squad on the night of the grand final. So we got beat, and I think it was sort of out of me or Brad Izzard. Really, that was the sort of that was the thing they ended up going with me.
Well, if they'd have known the damage you'd have done to the minibar, they probably would have picked Brad Izzard
was
instead.
94.
That was... I used to love that after the grand final. You get the kangaroo squad name.
Yeah.
Everyone, you'd play the game, and then... I mean, I think I remember... I think in 2001, you talked about... You try to get Steve Simpson in the Australian side or something like that, I vaguely remember. In a post-match interview.
Don't know.
I think you did.
Really?
Yeah.
And
And I think you got
he
picked.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
somebody
course
got
he
picked, yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a bit extra to play. Not that you need any extra motivation than winning a premiership. Speaking of which, bookies now move souths into second favourites to win the comp.
Ooh.
Just behind the Panthers. Gee, I don't know what you guys think. I'd have them favourites.
I've got them favourites at the moment. I've ranked them. I've got South 1, Penrith 2, Roosters 3, Storm 4.
No Brisbane.
Oh, Brisbane's after Storm. I'm still worried about Brisbane last year, where they fell off a cliff. They're going to lose. A lot of players will play Origin this year. How they handle that. And we saw on the weekend, look, it's probably every club, they lose pain. It's a totally different thing.
They just trying to think
Well,
of the,
Payne and
who they
Ezra,
got during the,
they really missed Ezra Meehan defensively on that left side.
Just while you're doing that, just on the Panthers, I'm wondering. I understand that they've terrible conditions, etc., but they've had two losses on the bounce now. The loss to Souths, they conceded 2 tries in the last 5 minutes, and then at the weekend. I'm wondering if you can draw a line between those 2 losses and whether they're any sort of lack of motivation or whether there's not the edge there was in the previous 2 years. I'm saying last year and the year before, Penrith wouldn't have conceded those 2 tries against South.
Man, how many players have they lost? Think about
Well, they've got no Fisher Harris and no Martin at the
No,
moment.
but I'm saying over the last 2 years, the players that have gone, Kickout's the big one. They're really missing him. Who else have?
Kick-out, Burden,
Burden,
Coruscant.
But that doesn't add up to missing
Capewell.
2 tackles in the last 5 minutes to lose a game, does it?
well,
No, but people have got to develop. You know, that's what happens sometimes. You
And
don't get
also-
a chance to develop. Have a look at their bench.
also that South one, Fijian, lost my name. The Fijian,
South.
no, Penrith.
Taruva.
Taruva goes off. Jamin Salmon goes to right centre.
Yeah.
Stephen Crichton goes to the other side. So you got guys who don't defend with each other, and Jamin Salmon's.
Mate, South
I
have
don't
done
think
that to everyone too. When they turn on you, then you're gone.
So I
You're nearly
suppose-
helpless.
I'm wondering, it's difficult. That's why no one's won 3 in a row since Parramatta in the 80s.
Because the
It's
salary
impossible.
cap too.
Of course,
Yeah.
but then there's the motivational factor,
But
isn't
that,
there? Like,
that
you've got to get
Parramatta
yourselves
that
up again.
Parramatta team was nearly the same. Would have been the same team if you look at they had the great back line. They were all there. I think even in '86 you still had Cronin.
Kenny Sterling, Cronin,
All of
Growth.
You kept your team. You don't get to keep
Ella.
your team now.
So you're saying you don't
Chalmers.
Chalmers, TC,
Buddy boy.
couple of quiet ones. You're not worried about motivation.
No, not at all.
No, they're
Not at
very
all.
good. I think what they're doing is incredible. The fact is that they lose so little.
Yeah. Ezra, Mam, and Payne Haas back for Magic Round this week. 2 big inclusions. Big game again. This
Well,
week.
they didn't miss Ezra so much in attack. Defensively, they missed him on that side. He got a few tries in around Jock Madden. So they really missed him defensively. I've got to say, Ezra Mann's a really good defender too.
Good balance.
And Payne, obviously, we talk about Payne. They're a 20, 24 point different team without Payne.
I don't think we gave South their defence enough credit. There was a real tactic about picking them up, holding them, spinning them around. You know, without Payne there, that really punches your line because you really can't absorb Payne. You need to tackle him. While most of the others, you can stand there, hold him, move them, twist them, and that's what South did the whole game. It'll be interesting how they go this week with Melbourne because Nelson's someone who you can't do it to. There's a few players in Melbourne that you can't do that to either. So I'm interested how they defend. But South never get the credit for their defence.
Yeah, you're right.
They got the second best defence, and they had a couple of blowouts early behind Penrith. Still, I know we talk about their attack, but without restricting the other team, it releases all the pressure off of your attack. So, they save a couple of tries and all of a sudden they go bang, bang. You're gone.
Yeah. Jake Trebojevic missing for Manly against Brisbane, so a couple of big names back for the Broncos. Interesting to see how they cope without him. Have you chatted with him with respect to Origin?
Yes. I said, how'd you tear your calf? He said, I tore it when I got up to 10.5 metres a second. I said, 10.5 metres a minute. I don't know how he tore the calf. Well, I think they're saying a month, he's saying a fortnight. So,
well, you look at the way they played defensively. He leads the defensive line. He leads the kick chase. He cleans up all the errors defensively around the run. But then also he plays that pivot role in the middle of the field. He ball plays in the middle. They are similar to Payne. They'd be a 16 to 18 point different team without Jake.
Puts a lot of pressure on the hooker, I reckon, in defence. Croker.
Yeah, mate, he's got a crook neck.
Croker.
Well, a couple of times he's come out of tackles holding his arm.
So you got Kepi. I'll tell you who's going good. The other front row. No, you got Kepi, Aloye, and Paseka. Jeez, he's running hard.
Did you see him get smashed off the kick-off?
Running hard.
He belted. He's his head had hit the roof. He's a big man.
Yeah. Gee, what did you say? 16 to 18 point
turnaround. I think so. Yeah. Gee. And then if Turbo's not there, it's upwards of high 20s.
Yeah. So Jake is out, Dolphinukin's back, so there's a bit of respite in terms of Freddie with his planning for middles for Origin 1. The other big team news this week is that Zach Lomax has been dropped.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been doing much, to be fair, but he doesn't get much ball, doesn't get much
Never
chance
gets the
to do
ball.
it. It seems like he's on the wrong side of the field.
I'm on the wrong side of the field. He's a right foot stepper, and they've got him on the left side.
So I didn't even notice it. He's been playing there all year, though.
Comes off his favourite foot. He's going to end up on the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Step.
In the Wollongong Ocean.
Grab a beer while you're there, Zach.
Past the windsock.
He's poor researcher. And I can't believe the hooker, Jacob Little.
Yes, so Jacob Little's been boned and Jaden Sullivan's on the bench. Moses Mbai's still there.
I'll be interested to see, actually, if they've scored a try without him on the field. Jacob Little.
Well, last week at half-time, they had 55% of possession. They had, I think it was upwards of 20 tackles in the Westpac red zone. It was it's a day game, so you move the ball laterally. They scored one try from an intercept. And their attack at the moment is ugly.
Well, I know the Dragons fans have been howling that Little isn't getting enough game time. They'll be absolutely blowing up Deluxe this week because he's not playing. Valance Tavare.
Valance, what a good name.
What a good name. I don't think we've ever had a Valance in the NRL before. So they say he's going to debut for the Dolphins. He's a rugby convert.
Jeez, he's bigger around the rump.
Look at him. Conrad Harrell.
Yes, just an absolute battleship.
Jeez, how would he buy jeans? 38 waist, 30 leg. Look at it. He's a nugget.
He could wear some of your old jeans.
So what position will he play?
Centre.
Centre. Wow.
Excuse me, is he starting? No.
He hasn't actually been included in the 17, I don't believe, but they say he's going to play. There's doubt over Brenko Lee, I believe.
Well, that's the side they'll put a stack of pressure on.
That's the side that leaks points, isn't it?
That's
the right side.
But when you think of Sifa.
Oh, he looks like Talakot, doesn't he? Well, he's a bit bigger than Talakot.
Whoa.
He's a big unit.
So they were playing him in Brisbane A grade last year to get used to playing league.
Good luck.
Then he got a chance in Queensland Cup this year and he's brained them, as you've seen.
I can just if If he's going to play, they can't play him on the right side because he can only run with the ball in his left hand. So if they play him in the centres, he's going to have to play left centre. Now, Branko Reed plays on the right. If he's got the ball in his left hand, he's just cannon fodder.
Okay.
So if they're going to play him, he'll be left centre.
Well, he'll be. Imagine if he was up against Sifa. They're two like little, just two nuggets.
Yeah.
Well, if he plays on the right, that'll be against Sifa, yeah.
The G-forces, when they come together, boom. I think Wayne Bennett, he'd have that in mind, wouldn't he, Joey? He wouldn't have missed that one.
So who's the other
left.
centre? You and
Right-hand
Aiken.
carry.
I'd say so.
But you and Aikens,
Jeez, he's playing well.
Isn't it amazing? Look, it's no surprise, but you look
I've
at that
always had
Dolphins team. If you valued that lineup, they'd be miles under the cap compared to some other teams. That they're punching so far above their weight, and they were gone on the weekend.
I've always had a
where they
massive-
rallied right back and only got beaten goal.
You
time.
and Aiken. I've always had a
he's
massive...
only playing Origin about 3 years ago.
Was he?
At the Dragons,
He
he was
looks
right in
so
the
strong.
discussion, right at the death. Him and James Roberts.
Huh.
That was when I first started. He was one of the best centres in the game.
Maybe
You know what he would be?
Well, he went to the Warriors.
You know
and
what he-
then,
you know what he would
just,
be?
just didn't work. you know?
He'd be... Oh, Jesus. He'd be a good
Back cave.
he would be a good bench player at rep footy.
Plays
'Cause he can
back row.
play back row, centre. You play him in the middle. You play him on the wing.
I don't know about the middle. Geez, you're tired, fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
He looks
He's
like
a
his
lactate.
power. He'd lactate for sure. He just stop in the middle of the field.
Lactate.
Yeah. When you lactate up and you just you
Lactic
stop.
acid.
Isn't that?
My
I
favourite
thought that's what happens when you breastfeed.
No.
My favourite lactating story was Andrew Lemieux went surfing at Bronte, and there's this rip that takes you out around past the
Tama.
cemetery and all that,
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
way.
Yeah.
So he was muscle bound, and he's on his big board and he's paddling, and he just lactated, and he just stopped. Because once you stop, you can't move. And they had to get the lifeguards, they're all going out after him.
How embarrassing.
They had to bring him in. Just stopped. That's it. That's how he walked up the beach.
Well done, Kerbox.
Can producer, can you just check that if you lactate, does that got something to do with breastfeeding? I'm sure it does.
It's lactose, isn't it?
Lactose.
No, lactose is in milk. If you're
Well, that's-
lactose intolerant.
Well, that's right. Breastfeeding, milk. I think that's closer than lactate.
We'll be back with the answer after the break. Magic round. If you're going up, pack your dancing shoes this week. And Broncos, Sea Eagles, Friday night footy.
Get ready for some Friday night fireworks. Sea Eagles, Broncos, Magic Round, Friday on 9 and 9 now.
Welcome back to Freddy and the Eighth, our biology lesson this week. You do lactate when you breastfeed, but I suppose you probably also would lactate if lactic acid takes over your body.
That's right. All those that have lactated, they'd know.
We salute everyone that's lactated out there. We talked about great club teams last week, so we thought we'd explore this a bit further. So we've asked you gentlemen to come up with the two best teams you played against a couple of weeks back. You said 94 Raiders, Andrew. This is the team.
This is the team. Brett Mullins, fullback. Nagus, Nandruku, wings. Meninga, Wiki as centres. Daly Stewart, halves. Bradley Clyde, lock. David Ferner, Jason Croker. Johnny Lomax, Quinton Ponga, front row. Steve Walters, the dummy half. And on the bench, Brett Hetherington and David Wesley. Now, if anyone doesn't know David Wesley,
Oh, he was a weapon.
he was a tearaway. Think about Roy Asatasi, but a bit faster. That was Dave Wesley. That is probably about 5 million over the cap these days. No, I'm not saying they cheated
Yes,
the
I
cap,
know.
but I'm just saying that team.
Well, there wasn't
Well, the
a
back
innuendo
the
there.
back line, Stuart Daly, Nandruku, Nagus, Mullins fullback, Meninga, Wiki, that'd be your salary cap. They're just superstars all the way through. I'm looking at what would be. You go, Freddie. I want to go through.
Now, you say 98 Broncos. Gee, it'd be a good game between these
So
two
the
teams.
98 Broncos, so I talk about salary caps. We've got Darren Lockyer, fullback, Michael DeVere and Wendell Saylor. I'm not sure where Lottie DeKiri was. Maybe he was injured. I thought he was still playing. Steve Renouf and Darren Smith in the centres. Kevin Walters, Alan Langer. Front rows, Andrew Jean, Shane Webke. Phil Lee was the hooker. Then you had Brad Thorne, Gordon Tallis, Tony Carroll. You had Petro, Kevin Campion, John Plath, who was a little halfback hooker.
He went good for him.
He was a good player. And then Michael Hancock
On the bench.
was the other bench player. And Wayne Bennett was the coach.
That back line, I've worked out, this is conservative, $6 million. That's being very conservative.
Yeah.
Like Ricky now would be on 1.2.
At
Laurie
minimum.
these days would be on 1.1. Mal would be on $1 million. Mullins would be on 800. Ruben Wiki would be on 600. An injury could be on 600. Sure.
Their for and against difference. Broncos plus 378,
Plus 378, the Broncos for and against.
plus 379, Canberra 94.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Isn't it a shame they never played a grand final?
298 points in defence they leaked.
Canberra?
Wow. Look at that. Well, that tells you a lot.
So what are you saying?
Well, Canberra were actually 1 point better.
That's a
Plus
good stat.
379, and then the Brisbane
That's
team,
the differential.
the
Wow.
differential was plus 378.
Goodness
But
me.
was there, how many teams are in the competition? How many rounds?
98, there was 20.
Oh, yeah.
So you played more games than 98, yeah?
Western
No, it's all.
Suburbs leaked 802 points in 20 games.
So then we've asked you on the flip side of this, gentlemen, the best teams you played in. No surprise, Andrew's picked the 2001 Newcastle team, which with Andrew in the team means it's definitely over the salary cap. Take us through.
The Davis fullback. Look at these wingers. Tahu and McDougall. Matt Gidley, Mark Hughes in the centres. Sean Rudder 5'8", myself half. Now this back row. Billy Peden Lock, 2 tries, grand final. Ben Kennedy, Steve Simpson. And then up front, Matt Parsons, Josh Perry, Denny Badeiras. And a real tough, hard-working bench. Paul Marquette, Clinton O'Brien, GG,
Glenn Grief.
Glenn Grief, and Daniel Abraham. That back row, Simpson, Kennedy, Peden. That's why we won the back row.
Great team. And you would have played a lot of football against the best team that Brad has played in.
Yeah, mine was 2002. Very similar back rows. Wait for this back row. So Luke Phillips was a fullback. Brett Mullins was in that Canberra team in '94. And Anthony Minicello. They were on the wing. Shan Haggerty and Justin Hodges, a couple of Queensland centres. Strike. Myself and Craig Wing in the halves. And you had Jason Kalis and Peter Cusack. Front rowers, Simon Benetti hooker. And the back row was Adrian Morley, Craig Fitzgibbon, Luke Ricketson.
What is that for a back row?
Fit.
And Fletch on the bench.
Fit and tough. Fletch on the bench, Andrew Lemieux, our lactator. And then you had Michael Crocker and Chris Flannery, a couple of young Queenslanders who end up going all the way.
That's a great team.
And it was young. You think
Now,
of Minnie, Wingy, Hodjo.
Was Arthur Beats in the recruitment bloke?
yeah.
Because there's a lot of Queenslanders. In
Yeah, so Crocker, Flannery,
Were they from
Hodjo.
Redcliffe?
Yep, they all come from that area.
And the coach, Ricky Stewart, his first year as an NRL coach.
Yep.
Now that team was without doubt the fittest team.
They were
I've ever
fit.
played against.
Fit. Remember, I just used to set records on all
Big
those
four.
sort of...
Big 4 kick. That's
all the
they do.
fitness things that all the clubs used to do, mate, that forward pack, like on those
Yo-yos and-
yo-yos and all that. What was the other one called? Beep test.
Beat test.
Mate, you nearly have to stop the forwards. They'd all be 14 plus,
Wow.
14, 15 plus, which is made fit
Yeah.
for big men, you know. Cusack and blokes like that are just, they
And
can
you
just
got-
lumber all day.
It's a great combination, that back row, because you got your work rate, Ricketson, Fitzgibbon, and then you got the
you ha-
hitman in Morley.
But you have a look at
madman.
the styles of play. These days, it's all about ball playing and spine and play set plays. Your ball players were Simon Benetti from dummy half, Wingy, who was more of a runner, yourself, and Luke Phillips. It was just a power game.
Yeah.
Just how much the game's changed.
Luke Phillips won the Clive Churchill medal, didn't he?
No, Fitzy did. Luke Phillips was
Didn't he play didn't he have
in
1,000
2000.
medals? Oh,
Okay,
right.
who-
yeah,
who-
sure,
we got
yeah.
beat.
Who was your favourite player to play with there?
Well, I used to put a big thing around Peter Cusack.
Wow.
Well, I just used to, my thing was I just always wanted to support him. Man, they just work so hard. It was a thankless job front row in those days. My God,
What about
you
you?
didn't have support either in
Well,
those days.
obviously
You just hit it up.
The back row
You got smashed.
spoke about, but it'd be Danny Badeiras. And when Warren Ryan came to Newcastle in '99, he totally changed my mindset of how to play, how to attack. There's more emphasis out of dummy half. Any quick play of the balls, Bedsy would just be saying, jump, go. And everyone would just be,
That's the same with Craig Wing.
Craig Wing is saying,
go.
that. Well, that's the best origin teams I ever played in. Badeiras Wing.
Fitzy was the other one. Fitzy, I defended next to Fitzy.
You drove
It
him
was so
mad.
tough.
It's all I'd hear the whole time, him screaming at Fitzy.
Drive him mad.
Drive him mad. Get at him, get out, Fitzy, get up.
Just on Bedsy, I know you're obviously close friends, so maybe your opinion might be somewhat slanted, but we all talk about great number 9s in the game. He's
Number 2.
his influence on the game has been overshadowed by Cameron Smith, hasn't it?
Yep.
I mean, he was Without Cameron Smith, we're talking about the Premier, probably number 9 of the modern era.
The best dummy half, of the NRL. And it's only because of Cameron that he's second to Cameron.
He had a nice balance. Like if you think about work around the dummy half, Benny Elias was, and he was 10 years prior, Benny Elias. Like he had so much trickery and movement around dummy half, but the whole game was out of there. Well, Danny had a bit of that, and then was mostly a little bit quicker, and had another part of his game that mostly Benny didn't have.
So Betsy, he didn't come through as a hooker, did he?
A halfback.
Halfback.
Yeah.
Right. So he was started that transition as well. A lot of halves going.
Then it goes into the theory of you pick the best players. No, you get players in with the right character, and then you coach them to play certain positions.
So
He's a great example. Robbie Davis came down as a halfback.
Did he?
Yeah. Matthew Gidley came in as a 5'8".
I think he played a bit of 5'8" at NRL level too.
Didn't work.
Didn't?
No. Played too much in the outside backs, and we got him in a couple of games, and he just lost all his feel for playing 5'8".
Fascinating discussion. Love talking about this stuff. So we're going to hand it over to you. We had heaps of questions the other week when we asked for viewer questions. So send us in what you think are your best club teams. We'll pick the best of them, we'll put them up on the screen, and we'll get the boys to have a chat about it. Always love going down memory lane with this kind of stuff. Games on 9 this week. Magic round. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No Thursday footy. We kick off with Manly and Brisbane, and I think I know Andrew's tipping, given what you had to say about Jake being missing.
Yeah. I think Brisbane win very well.
What about how Manly have to take that game to Brisbane? Is that ridiculous?
They'd be compensated for that, wouldn't they?
I think everyone gets paid, but I still think, like, the fact is...
Well, they're a different team at 4 Pines, bookie.
Well, they weren't last week, were they? It's concerning. They started so well. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago they bashed Melbourne. And then 2 weeks later, there's drama coming out of the camp again around Josh Schuster. I know he had a dust-up at training, and that happens, but I think there's more worries about his condition. Not working hard enough or rehabbing enough to get
everyone can see it. And I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago for the pre-game, and I'd ask him about it. And he said, look, I know it's not being nasty, but I've heard it my whole career. So that dude bound he'd know. It's up to him.
I did read something interesting. He doesn't live in Manly.
This is what I said to him off camera. I said, mate, how do you travel?
Where does he live?
It's still out at
out west.
Blacktown.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Wow.
But mate, physically for your body, sitting in cars after training, especially your back and stuff. But it's got to come to the individual. The trainers and your coach and these people, they can't be with you 24/7. It's got to come. The responsibility has got to come from you. What you eat, what you don't eat, what you drink, the way you prepare yourself for training, getting up early, eating the right food for breakfast, all that stuff. It all goes into being professional.
When I was coaching the Roosters, that was the first thing I identified was you had a heap of the Payer boys, and Sam Perry used to live at Campbelltown. You had Mitchell Pearce who was living over at St Ives. You had a heap of boys at Cronulla. No one lived in the eastern suburbs. So I said, if you're not going to move in, I'm going to put train at 5:30. So in the pre-season, they'd be getting up at 4 o'clock to be coming in. And then it was like when I left the year after, they all moved in. It was like, you know what? Maybe there's something in that.
And you know what? When you're in the car driving all that way...
And actually, someone tells me the Tigers are like that.
Yeah.
No one lives close.
Right.
Well, everyone lives...
So
a lot of kids out
west.
west.
How do you socialise?
Well, you can't. You're always running to get home. You're thinking about traffic, and the wrong things are on your mind.
The Tigers don't. I mean, they've obviously got that centre of excellence
They're
at
a
Concord,
$5,
but they're kind of... They've got a home ground at Campbelltown, a home ground
Yeah, but
there.
it's where you
They don't have
train.
to- yeah.
It's where you train. So, like, you know, they're building a centre of excellence in Wollongong. The team should be living in Wollongong. Like, you know, it can work a little bit. I know they used to take that bus down. There was a bus that went from Cronulla.
They called it Tonya. Had a name.
Oh,
It
right.
was when that movie came out, I, Tonya.
Oh, Tanya, yeah.
I actually
Mate,
travelled down with them. On,
very rarely
Should
it
I be
can
concerned
work.
about where this is going?
no.
Oh, right.
It was
Too
just
much
after
travel.
Boys, seriously, Concord. Have you been to Concord? It's the best joint in the world.
Where is Concord? Whereabouts in Sydney?
It's the centre of Sydney now.
What,
don't
near
worry.
Balmain?
No. Not too far from
No,
Balmain,
no.
a
It's
little
like-
bit further. Near home, not far from home, but Sydney Olympic Park.
Tell
Cafes
me.
everywhere.
Okay.
No, it's good. It's good.
Majors Bay Road.
Good spot.
To the people of Concord
Oh,
Council,
actually,
we
sorry.
are available for
Concord,
sponsorship.
is that the one where you drive past and the goalposts are huge?
Yeah, they're the originals.
They're real big ones.
Do you know the other originals? The other original longest, tallest posts? Brett Kenny used to play for him, and I'll tell you who else, Guildford, Macready Oval.
I remember that. Can't remember what I had
do
for
you remember
breakfast.
that?
I don't know. Some things I can remember.
I used to love playing there. If you kick one from near the sideline, to watch the ball go through those huge
Well, it makes them
posts.
look narrow.
Yeah.
Well, they were rugby posts at
Yeah.
Concord Oval because they built that ground for the '87 Rugby World Cup. That was the home ground for the Wallabies.
Was it?
It was.
There
It
you go.
was.
Running rugby.
Well, I think West Harbour also train out of there.
I think they might play there too, do they?
Yeah, they could.
I've
Well,
lost track of
obviously,
it.
So
the
on
Tigers don't
a
train
good
there.
run from the centre of, say, the Harbour Bridge to Concord.
We got the new tunnels.
20 minutes.
What about on a rank drive? An hour.
An hour.
An hour and a bit.
Which is what I was going to say. If
And
you're-
all those new tunnels. Phew,
Yeah, they cost a fortune. If you're Josh Schuster and you're going from Blackdown to Manly and you're hungry, geez, the temptation to go to the drive-through is overwhelming.
Well, it's
isn't
too
it?
easy, isn't it? It's,
if you're
that's
Josh
what it
Schuster,
is.
you should be living next to that school where we park.
Mate, if you're Josh Schuster, you've got a
Brookvale.
pad on the beach.
Yeah.
In
Hello?
Narrabeen. Lived in Narrabeen.
Yeah.
Training centre's right there. But I can imagine
They train the other place
even
now.
preparing yourself to train. Where do
They've
they
been-
train?
They train at the ground, the new ground, the Bob Fulton stand.
That's their
Oh,
centre
is
of
that a
excellence.
centre of
isn't it?
excellence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where have you been? We've been there about 4 times. Haven't you had a look?
That's my memory. Even getting yourself ready to train. You imagine sitting down for an hour and 20 minutes in a car, then having to get there and doing a big weight session.
I did it when I moved. So when I moved to the Roosters, I went to the Northern Beaches.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, that house in Narrabeen.
yeah, so I had to go drive into the city, and sometimes you'd have to do it twice. So what I used to do was stay at Rico's.
Did you notice a difference?
I was awful.
Physically in your body?
Yeah, so Rico, I used to stay at Rico's a couple of days a week. He lived near Centennial Park. It's always good.
Imagine Schuster's toll bill.
Yeah, clean living sort of bloke, Rico.
Yeah, of course.
Dude, what do you two used to do? Watch any movies?
I used to just watch Rico.
Who's that? Luke Waterhouse.
Saturday, how good a game is this? Storm Rabbits, boys.
I know.
Oh, Rabbits.
Wow.
You got the attacking brilliance of the Rabbits and you got the defensive structures of the Storm. I'll tell you one thing I noticed last week against the Warriors for the Storm. They had Nelson wide. I think he'll be running at Cody this week.
Liam Knight's back.
Yeah.
For his first
They're
game.
benched.
I'm disappointed.
Liam
Davy
Knight.
Mayoli isn't playing.
David Maloney.
Yes,
Mawali.
Cartwright Arrow on the bench. Liam Knight, Tom Burgess.
it's a good bench.
Still missing Kearn Kaloamatangi. He's another one that's out of origin calculations too with injury.
They're starting Cello. Mo Cello. Geez, he's been good this year.
Yeah, I think that's a big risk against Melbourne. They've sort of, their starts haven't been fantastic, South. And they start with,
start.
yeah, so
Now,
I feel
just
like,
Nelson started on the bench last week. Wonder if that's to counter. They've gone for a big bench to counter when Nelson comes on. Are they 90 on the bench, Nelson? Or
he's
Nelson's, starting at
Tom's
prop.
been coming off the bench.
Well, Arrow and Burgess both named on the bench. I don't think that'll happen, will it? One of them will
I wouldn't
start.
think so.
Well,
So
Arrow, you
Totola,
just
so
leave
they start
Arrow
with
out
Totola, Sele
Totola
and
Sele.
Cam Murray.
Yep.
there. Geez, a good pack. Their back rows have done well. Jacob Host and Cheekham.
Flip of the coin, bookies. Who you tipping?
Oh, no, I like South. Really like South.
I think so. Well, mate, anytime with Munster in it, there's a huge risk. And Harry Grant. They're such good players.
Hey, what about Nick Meaney last week?
Yeah.
How good did he play? He's going so well.
Where did he play before Melbourne?
Newcastle. Canterbury.
Canterbury and Newcastle. Sunday.
Well, it just goes to show the regime they've got down there. Josh King. Josh King was,
Where did he play?
isn't
Newcastle.
Newcastle? And he was in and out first grade.
He's a good player.
Just goes to show down there the coaching of Craig Bellamy and the club and
He's a workhorse, Josh King. He's playing 80 minutes at lock every week.
Craig Bellamy told me, they do those pre-season army camps, and they get a report back. He said Josh King was the best one they got back in terms of character. This week.
Right.
Coal miner. Roosters Cows. Sunday footy.
Surely the Roosters put a score on them.
There's the,
I'm surprised Billy Smith's not in the centres. They're going Drew Hutchison.
I know.
Billy Smith's on the extended bench. He's coming back from long-term injuries, but he's been back for 2 games.
can you imagine Drew Hutchison? Apparently it's 25 degrees there all week in Brisbane, and Valentine Holmes is in front of him.
You're an idiot, sonny.
He's
reckon
a,
it'll be sunbaking.
Sunstroke.
he'd be a nightmare to tackle Val Holmes on a beautiful dry day.
We're all waiting for the Cowboys to find something. They're getting worse, not better.
And they lose
Nanai
Nene.
and Chester.
You pronounce it Nene, don't you?
Jeremiah Nene.
You chipped in commentary later.
I didn't chip you.
You're chipping.
No, you wrote it down. You went,
Yeah, well, because I didn't want you to keep on
Yeah, I
doing
know.
that.
So what do I call him?
I could have said it on air.
Mate, I hear JT say it. JT works there, knows him. He calls him Nanai.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeremiah, I'm sorry, Nanai. Doing my best.
Him and Taumalolo. So Taumalolo's not back either. So you're missing a couple of big players through the middle. And the Roosters look pretty
Well, have they
the
named
Roosters look pretty strong.
Chad Townsend? Because he went off
He's
with
been
that car.
named, but he's in doubt. And also on the bench is Kulikefi Finafuriaki. So there's another one for you. He'll make his debut this week.
What positions he play? In the
I'm
forwards?
assuming- I think it's prop. Hard to see the Cowboys firing there. Before we leave you for this episode of Freddy and the Eighth, coming to you live from the Batcave, Andrew Johns and his words of wisdom for Magic Round.
I've got none. I've actually
For
got
Magic
none.
Round?
For Magic round?
Anything about Magic?
No.
How to stay out of trouble if you're an
Bloody
NRL player.
Marys are always a good thing. The next day.
The next day,
Because
morning.
you're sitting in a cafe and you're necking a long neck, people are like, oh, who's that?
What time in the cafe?
8 o'clock. But if you're having a Bloody Mary, there's a bit of nobleness to it. Yeah.
I had one with, remember we were in New York
Yeah.
and
No.
Phil Bailey.
I don't remember New York.
What,
I was with Phil Bailey and we were at this wonderful cafe in somewhere in New York, and
Yeah.
that was breakfast, Bloody Marys.
what's in a Bloody Mary?
Tomato juice, vodka, celery, pepper. Like really, who was that hungover when
Thought of that, yeah.
who honestly thought of that when they were that tomato juice, vodka, celery and
Just sucking it out
Pepper.
of the celery.
Did you enjoy a Bloody Mary, or was it
No,
just...
dude.
I've done
Red.
it once. I did it once.
I finished up looking like Count Dracula by the end of it.
It's some
blood
Sex in
coming
the
down.
City, I think.
So for Uncle Andrew's advice this week, if you're struggling during Magic Round, get into the cafe, get yourself a bacon and eggs, and
And coming home at every airport, I had a I had a little rort going where I used to go up to the bars and give the lady $50. This is when we're travelling back the next day and I was hung, and just say, well, if I come and ask for a caramel macchiato and wink, can you get a coffee cup and fill it up full of beer, please? So if someone at the airport, if you ask someone for a caramel macchiato and wink, you're going to get a beer.
if you are at Magic Round and you are having a caramel macchiato, aka beer in a coffee cup, or
That's at the airport.
okay,
Yeah, that
Or-
only at an airport.
or Bloody Marys in the cafe. We want to see the pictures because you will get on the show next week.
Send it in, and the best one will get a Steel City shirt.
There you go.
Bingo.
We're going to be inundated. Does that include commentators?
Hey, can I just... But if you're going to do it responsibly. You got to finish with that sort of thing.
All right, boys. See you in Brizzy, where it is
Magic Round.
beautiful one day, perfect the next. Ta-da.